So I rented a car in China. In order to rent a car or drive in China, you have to have a Chinese driver's license. And that was a real pain in the ass for me to get, at least here in my city. And I know in some of the bigger cities it might be a little bit easier to get. That's a whole other video to talk about. I've driven in many countries around the world, and I've rented cars in many countries around the world, but doing it in China is a much different process. It opens up a whole world of new challenges, especially with my limited language ability, not just spoken Chinese, but also reading Chinese, street signs, parking signs, things like that. But on the flip side, it's going to open up a huge amount of opportunity for me to explore and do some more amazing things here in China. So I'm really excited about this. Now, I, of course, have driven in China a lot. I've driven my friends' cars, and usually they're like sitting next to me when I do so, which is always nice to have, go here, go there, don't go there kind of thing. But today is going to be my first time driving solo. And I'm going to go on a road trip. Today I'm going to go from Zhongshan up to Guangzhou. And it's about an hour and a half. There's some toll roads I got to navigate. And of course, driving in the city itself of Guangzhou is surely going to be an adventure. Everyone says, oh, driving is crazy. And in China, it's really not that bad. Once you understand traffic patterns and motivations and how everyone drives differently, not necessarily bad drivers, just different way of driving, a different driving culture. It's actually easier in China than, say, in Thailand or the Philippines. As far as navigation goes, because the car, everything is in Chinese, and navigation, Google doesn't work here unless you have a VPN, I recommend you use Apple Maps. Apple Maps, if you have an iPhone, is the best way to go, because it gives directions in English, it has everything in English, and even if you don't have a car, using Apple Maps to navigate a city is so much easier because they actually have the bus routes and the subway routes to get to your destination. And again, everything is either in English or in the pinyin. Here is the car that I rented. It's a Jeep Renegade, red. It's a little dirty, but that's okay. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's perfect size for driving around in a city. But these cars are actually very popular, and I've been driving it, and I've got some driving impressions about it. So here's what I'm looking at. It's a very stock, it's not one with four-wheel drive, it's got an automatic, it's got the small 4-cylinder turbo in it, so it's pretty slow. But one thing I've noticed is that, of course, the information is kind of a combination of English and Chinese, but check this out. It's a lot of blank switches, and this is where normally you would find the cruise control. And in every car I've driven in China, and granted I haven't driven a Tesla or a BMW or anything like that, but in every car there's no cruise control, which is interesting to me. Now, I've rented an SUV for a purpose this time. I'm planning to go up to Guangzhou to go to IKEA to buy some furniture. I need a new chair for my office area and a couple of other things, so I can stick it in the back. Normally, if I go to Guangzhou, I got to take the train, the high-speed train, and then the subway, and there's only so much you can carry in your arms from IKEA there. The price is it's kind of similar. It's a little bit cheaper than in the West. This thing is a very, very small SUV, and I paid 200 RMB for the day. It's a 24-hour rental, and it is plus I think it's like 55 or 60 RMB for the insurance, because I don't have Chinese insurance, so I get that too. So about 250, 260 RMB for a 24-hour rental. And it is dirty, and that's only because I went to the lot and just picked it off the lot. If I make a reservation in advance through this app, then of course everything would be washed and ready for me when I got there. But I'm fine with it, I don't care. Keep in mind though that if you use an app or you rent, everything is in Chinese. The contract is in Chinese. Nobody speaks English at the car rental places, unless you go to a major city, to an airport such as Shenzhen or Guangzhou. They have international car rental agencies like Avis, and I believe Hertz is in there too, and they usually will have someone with broken English, but again, everything is in Chinese. You have to have a Chinese driver's license. Now, you can use your credit card for the deposit. I paid this with my WeChat money, which was great, but you can always use regular credit card or debit card for the actual rental. But the deposit, you have to have a credit card. I have an American credit card and it worked just fine, but I also found that you can use Alipay, which is similar to WeChat Pay. It's this online payment thing, and the price and the way it works is very similar.
the deposit for this, they take a 6,000 RMB authorization on your card, and then when you return it, they return 4,000 RMB immediately, and they keep 2,000 RMB for 30 days. That's strange to me, and I asked around. They said, yeah, that's normal. As far as the larger rental companies, they all have different policies regarding this, but because I'm in a small city that doesn't have an airport, I had to go to a smaller agency that has multiple locations around the city, and this is their policy, and I'm fine with it. It's okay. I brought a friend with me to rent this, to navigate me through the contract process and to introduce me, because I'll be doing this multiple times a month. And I recommend that. Always bring somebody who can help translate if you have limited language capability. Again, once you have a Chinese driver's license and you go through that process, you learn about the rules of the road and how to deal with insurance and how to deal with the police, and also what roads you can drive on and what you can't, and speed limits and how that works, and dealing with traffic police, which are almost non-existent here, to be honest. It's mostly done via camera. But I picked this particular car for one thing in particular. Check it out. You can see that the windows are tinted, and that's important if you're a foreigner driving in China, especially in some of the smaller cities. There's all kinds of stories about people seeing the opportunity of a foreigner, thinking, oh, they're rich, and so they'll drop right in front of your car and pretend to be hurt, like you hit them, and then they'll call the police, and of course you have no rights here, so the police will automatically, you got to pay this person money, or they'll try to extort money from you. So hiding in a car, especially if you're alone in a car, hiding is your best bet. I have a baseball cap that I'll wear, but so I get a lot of stares when I'm driving around, especially this town. Having gone through this whole process, it's taken about 6 months for me to get to this point. It's very exciting. It's opening up so much more of China to me. Not just the cities and the around here, but road trips, the trailheads that are impossible to get to via a taxi cab or DD or something, or public transportation. So I'm very excited about what this is opening up. Now, this trip alone, I'm staying in the city. I'm actually using it for utility purposes. But in the future, I imagine 2-3 day road trips into the mountains, staying in lodges, and doing a lot of hiking and exploring a lot more of the parts of China that most foreigners will never get to see. And so stay tuned for all of that, because it's going to be a really great summer and a really great fall and beyond, maybe, if I stay in China. So. Now, driving this little SUV, I like it. It's the perfect size. I thought about buying a car here in China, put serious thought into it, but in the city, because my daily commute's only 2 kilometers and I love my e-bike, it's much more convenient as far as parking and traffic. There's no reason for me to buy a car because I won't use it every day. So renting a car on my days off for the price is actually a better deal, and I don't have to hassle with insurance and maintenance, and I can get a different car if I want to. They have Chinese cars and foreign cars. This Jeep is, Jeep's owned by Fiat. This is built in Italy, so it's got a very European feel to it. It doesn't feel like a Jeep, and it drives real nicely. However, there are a few annoyances that I've noticed so far. First, it's got a CVT, a continuously variable transmission, which is strange, especially at the higher revs. You floor it to pass somebody, and it feels like it's struggling to find the gear. So if I was driving a regular transmission, I would say the transmission is slipping, but I know it's designed to do that. Another thing is, when you put it in park, the parking brake automatically engages, and that's kind of annoying because back home I almost never use the parking brake unless I'm driving a stick. The most annoying thing I've noticed is when you put it into drive, it won't actually engage in drive until you take your foot off the brake. So normally you keep your foot on the brake, you can feel it kind of jolt into drive, and you go, you can creep ahead. But here you have to take your foot off the brake, then it engages into drive, and then you go. And that's kind of creepy, especially if you're on an incline, because you feel like you're going to back up. It doesn't, but it's just something you have to get used to. And on the reverse side, it actually takes a long time for it to engage in reverse. So if I put it into drive and then I have to back up, I put it in reverse and then I have to wait. It's like a second or two for it to engage. It's not very fast, and that's kind of annoying. I just pulled off the side of the road, grab a little hamburger at McDonald's. Now, they do have drive-thrus. You can see there's a drive-thru here, and it goes into the building, comes out this way. But they're very rare, drive-thrus in China. And unless you can talk and order in Chinese, then it's not worth it. You can just go into McDonald's and point at the menu and say, give me this. It's a little bit easier, I think. You have the Jeep grill in the actual taillight. That's pretty cool. Here's another thing I noticed here on the windshield. Check this out. It's a little Jeep. That's kind of cool. This car is full of like little Easter eggs like that. And as you can see, this is not a Jeep to go off-roading in. The ground clearance is very, very small. I'm just passing through my old stomping ground of Shaolan. Traffic's always really bad right here, getting up over the Dongfeng Bridge. I made it to Panyu, which is a southern district of Guangzhou. I'm here at IKEA. There's two IKEAs in Guangzhou. One is in Tianhe in the center of town. I've been there, did a video of it. It's very crowded, full of people, and I was there on like a weekend. So this time I'm in a southern district. It's a little more suburbia, I guess. It's a brand new one. It's got a giant parking lot. It's to me like they're still putting it together. This is much nicer than the one downtown. I mean, it's Friday night at about 6 p.m. and it's the most empty IKEA I have ever been to. It's shocking that this is in the middle of Guangzhou. Well, the southern district of Guangzhou at least, but Panyu is still a lot of people. And I see that this IKEA is empty because this whole neighborhood is empty. Very interesting. An adventure getting into this parking garage. The gate wouldn't open for me and I had a long line, everyone yelling at me. But check this out, these are a double-decker car and I'm curious, okay, how do they rotate? Oh, it looks like I see well, maybe looks like this one raises up and you can park underneath, but I don't understand how there's two. That's very strange. Interesting.
就地过高，在设计当中。
就你觉得他们穿的漂亮吗？
要不现在了解设计怎么制造啊？
是吧？
Okay, it's the next morning. I'm going to drop off the car right now. It did wonders. I had a question. Why are they keeping the 2,000 RMB for a month? And the reason is because everything is done by cameras here. So if you run a red light or speed, the camera takes a picture of the license plate, bills the owner of the car. That's not me. So they keep it for 2,000 in case you break any rules.
Okay, final thoughts on renting a car. If you're gonna do it, go to an office, you know, where there's a desk and a person. You know, the reason behind that is not that, you know, they might scam you, but it's not a scamming thing, it's just a convenience thing. They have these so-called convenience lots, where they keep the cars all over the city. And you call them and then you meet them at the lot and then you rent the car on the spot. Everything's done via an iPad and, you know, remotely. And that is convenient unless you don't speak Chinese. And then it's very inconvenient because, you know, you gotta call the guy, hopefully you have your WeChat or something, and you gotta try to meet them. And, you know, it took like an hour just to drop off the car today. That was a big problem.
But in all, I was very happy with the experience of this car and the car rental company, and by going again. But I'm going to be going to one of the offices instead. You pay a little bit more at the office too. That's strange. It's 50 RMB more to rent and drop off from the office itself. I don't understand that. But anyways, it was only one day, so it's not the end of the world. And now I'm back to the daily grind on my e-bike. There she is. A friend of mine nicknamed it Silverado. He likes to give nicknames. By the way, that's my old bike, if you remember her, the Green Hornet. That's what my friends call it. Look how dirty it is. It's actually broken. I was going to give it to a friend, but I can't get it started. So there's something wrong with the battery. So I'm either going to toss it or leave it here till someone picks it up.